A giant stood on the battlefield, and for 40 days, no one dared to fight him. The strongest soldiers in Israel were paralyzed with fear. But then a shepherd boy walked into the valley. He had no armor, no sword, only a sling and faith in God. What happened next would become one of the most famous battles in his story. The valley of Elah was silent. Two armies stood on opposite hills. On one side, the army of Israel. On the other, the powerful Philistines. Every day, a champion stepped forward from the Philistine ranks. His name was Goliath. Goliath was enormous, nearly 10 feet tall. His armor weighed more than most men could carry. His spear was massive, and his shield bearer walked before him. Each morning and evening he shouted a challenge. "G to Israel, choose a man to fight me." But no one moved. The soldiers of Israel were terrified. Even King Saul, the tallest man in Israel, refused to face the giant. For 40 days the challenge continued, morning after morning, evening after evening, and still no one answered. Then one day, a young shepherd arrived at the camp. His name was David. He wasn't a soldier. He had come only to deliver food to his brothers. But when David heard the giant's challenge, he could not believe what he was hearing. David spoke with boldness. "Why should anyone fear T? His Philistine?" He said something. Astonishing. "When I protected my father's sheep, a lion came and a bear, and the Lord delivered me from him." Then David said, "The Lord will deliver me from this giant too." King Saul offered David his own armor, but it was too heavy, too large, too unfamiliar. So David removed it. Instead, he walked to a stream and chose 5 smooth stones across the valley. Goliath saw the boy approach. Aching, he laughed. "Am I a dog," he shouted, "that you come at me with sticks?" But David answered with courage, "You come against me with a sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord." Then David ran toward the giant. He placed a stone in his sling and swung it with incredible speed. The stone flew through the air and struck the giant in the forehead. Goliath fell. For a moment the valley stood still. No one moved. No one spoke. The giant who had terrified Israel for 40 days now lay motionless on the ground. The impossible had just happened. David stood there, breathing heavily, the sling still in his hand. Slowly, he walked toward the fallen giant. The Philistine soldiers watched in disbelief. Their champion, their greatest warrior, had just been defeated by a boy. David reached the body of Goliath and did something no one expected. He took the giant's own sword. The blade was enormous, forged for a warrior far larger than David. But with determination, David lifted the sword and ended the battle. In that moment, the illusion of Philistine invincibility shattered. Fear spread through their ranks. If their greatest warrior had fallen, what chance did the rest of them have? Suddenly, the Philistine army turned and ran. The army of Israel erupted with a thunderous roar. The soldiers who had stood frozen in fear for 40 days suddenly charged down the hills. What had begun as a silent battlefield turned into a storm of victory. In the middle of the battlefield stood the young shepherd who had started it all. David, just hours earlier, he had been unknown, a boy delivering food to his brothers. Now every soldier in Israel knew his name. King Saul watched the scene from a distance. He had seen many warriors in his life, but never courage like this. Saul turned to his commander and asked, "Whose son is this young man?" Soon David was brought before the king. The shepherd who defeated a giant now stood inside the royal tent. Saul looked at him carefully. "Whose son are you?" the king asked. David answered calmly, "I am the son of Jesse from Bethlehem." That day marked the beginning of a story that would change Israel forever, because the shepherd who defeated a giant would one day become a king. But his journey was only beginning. The story of David and Goliath is not only about a battle, it is about faith. It reminds us that the greatest victories in history were not always won by the strongest warriors. Sometimes, all it takes to change the world is one stone